Hello, you're welcome again to Prep with Chigozie, and on today's episode we're going to be discussing the speaking section of the IELTS. Now, from experience, this is why I think many students struggle with this section. It is not that they do not know how to communicate in English normally. It is that they overthink it. They often think that they have to sound British or American, which is not true, number one. Number two, they think that it is more like a job or a visa interview. So when they don't know the answer to a specific question, they tend to pass on the question, which is very, very wrong. It is not a test of facts, your knowledge of facts. No, they're not looking to find out how knowledgeable you are in the issues they're asking you about. They are rather finding out how well you can express yourself, even when you do not know the answer to the question, right? So what are the grading criteria? They are looking out for your lexical resources, your ability to play around a variety of sentence structures and word choices. They are also looking out for your grammar. They are looking out as well for your pronunciation, which I have mentioned before, does not require that you speak like the British or an American. You only have to use your regular accent, but then be very audible. Hit your syllables. Then finally, they are looking out for your fluency. They want to see that you can speak for a length of time without putting a lot of fillers, or like, as in. They want to say that you can flow freely without having a lot of ums. So these are the standards they are looking out for to grade you high. They are not looking out for your knowledge of facts. It is not a visa interview, and you do not have to precisely sound like a British or an American person. So on today's segment, I'm going to be showing you how to respond. With my usual accent, I'm going to show you how to respond, how to use useful transitions to connect your responses, and just how to add specific details. So let's delve right into it. So I'll be answering part one questions, a few part one questions, and on my list here, the first question I have here says we are discussing personal work or studies, and the question is, are you a student or do you work? How would you respond to this? I work as a real estate consultant. No, you don't respond like this. Add a little more detail and make it engaging, make it seem more like a conversation. So a response as this is better. Listen, I currently work as an English proficiency tutor, teaching students how to score higher on tests like IELTS, SAT, TOEFL, GRE, and the likes. My job requires me to guide the students properly towards ensuring that they get their desired band score at the end of the training. So you see, something like that. The next question I have here says, describe your place of work. You're asked to describe. So how would you do that? Oh, I work in a very comfortable environment. The place is clean and nice. It doesn't necessarily show lexical resources. It doesn't show that you're interested in having the conversation. So a response like this would be better. Just be engaging and as natural as you can be, right? So I would respond first. What is my place of work like? I work in a very conducive environment where all the amenities I could possibly need to do my job efficiently are provided. I'm talking about the air conditioner, I'm talking about the projector and the slides, I'm talking about having a very, very comfortable working table, and my colleagues as well are pretty interesting to work with. Everybody is serious about his or her job. And so you get less toxicity as you would normally get at other workplaces, right? Yes. The next question is there anything you don't like about your job? How would I respond to this? So you want to try responding on your own, and I would back up with mine. Yes. I wouldn't say there is anything I do not find interesting about my job. If anything, I like the fact that I have to always be in contact with different students from different walks of life. And I also love the thrill that comes with having students acquire their desired score. It is one of the most exciting moments of my career that I can help students achieve what they set out to achieve with regards to these exams. The next question is about free time. It is still a part one question. So how would you respond to a question like this? Do you have a lot of free time? So I would go. I wouldn't say I have a lot of free time, although there are days I do not work, and during these days I spend it just watching TV. I love movies a lot, by the way, or just reading an interesting novel. But more often than not, I am required to either tutor students on site or online. So I wouldn't say my free time is as adequate as I would love. Down to the part two. Now, this is the part where you are required to speak for a relatively longer period of time, as opposed to the part one where you saw my responses were more or less straight to the point, and I didn't take a lot of time with a lot of details. But this time around, you'll be required to give as many details as you could possibly provide. You would also be required to sound more like you're telling a story. So your storytelling technique and your fluency is going to be judged mostly based on the response you provided on the path through. So you want to make it as engaging, friendly, and as laid back as you possibly can, right? And the response we have here says, describe a special event or festival that you like. So how would you respond to this? By the way, there are tag points to responding to this question. There is the first tag point says what the event was, where it was, and what happened at the event, as well as why you liked the event. Now, these are the tag points, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to answer precisely in accordance to the tag points. You just have to memorize them, scribble down key points about each of them, but flow freely. Whichever comes first, it still makes sense, right? But you don't have to ensure that you follow each tag point in accordance, because it's going to hamper your fluency of speech. You'll find that you're always looking at the script and responding, even though you could do that occasionally. But then if you get so hung up on answering in accordance to the tag points, the mistake you're going to do is that you'll be looking at the script more often than you're looking at the examiner questioning you, right? So how would I respond to this? I will take 1 minute. You often be given 1 minute to plan your response. I will just plan my response within a minute, and I will shoot after that for about a minute or two. A fascinating event I really enjoyed would be the Christmas party that we usually organize every Christmas season in our family house. And this is such a fantastic occasion where we get to cook as much as possible. We cook a variety of dishes on this day, and this cooking is not often done by just my mother alone. Everybody's hand is on deck as far as cooking is concerned. My siblings, especially my sister, they tend to come around from their marital homes to engage in the cooking. Even during the cooking itself, there is interaction, there is banter, there is catching up on old time, now down to the feasting and then the music and the dancing that comes after it. All make such an event so memorable. I always look forward to that Christmas party every December period, right? It's a time for me to bond. It's a time for me to catch up on siblings, family members I haven't seen in a while, and most importantly, the time for me to listen to my mom's unending stories about neighbors who gave birth recently, who married who recently, and all of those. So yes, generally the Christmas party would be the most interesting event for me. Now we're down to the part 3. Now, what are you required to do here? The part 3 requires you to give more extended arguments, right? And it is called a follow-up for a reason. It is a follow-up in the sense that it is going to be based off whatever you responded to in the previous part. So it will be based on the same subject matter, but this time they want to see you speak in more general sense, talk about other people, younger, older generation, past, present, different country perspectives, in whatever issue. And remember, your response does not have to be factual. Your response just always has to have some level of fluency, coherence, and grammatical accuracy, right? So how do you think I would respond to this particular question? Why do you think celebrations are important in society? Now, because on this section you're required to give extended arguments, you don't want to delve right into the question immediately you're asked. No, you want to take a breather, right? Take a brief pause, take it all in, then give a response. It is even acceptable to tell the examiner to give you a few seconds to think about your response. Yes, it shows more than anything else to the examiner that you are willing, you are happy to respond to the question correctly, right? So that effort is also commendable in a way. And there are other tricks you can apply to help you think through your response. You could even ask the examiner to rephrase the question even though you heard it clearly the last time, but don't make this too obvious. So one way I would do this is tell the examiner, oh, please, I'm not sure I quite understood the question. Could you please rephrase? Notice that I did this even in good grammar, right? So it is not obvious that I'm just playing tricks on the examiner. It is rather obvious that I said it, I communicated my request well, right? Oh, I'm not sure I understood what you said. I'm not sure I got that quite clearly. Could you please repeat the question? Could you please explain what you mean a little more? Another trick you could apply is compliment the question. Even though you may not find the question interesting, you want to compliment the question, right? And yes, if you don't find the question interesting, it's also acceptable to say you don't find the question interesting, right? But do it as politely as can be. So I would respond in, I would say that I don't like the question, I don't find the question interesting, and I would also say that I find the question interesting, and you'll see how I do that. Oh, that's an interesting question. I wasn't expecting I would answer this extensively, but then you go on and shoot. Or you go like, oh, that is not such an interesting question, but I'll be delighted to answer. So you see, by doing this, it shows willingness, and you have also bought time to think through your response. Now, the first question, why do you think celebrations are important in society? Oh, how would I respond to this? Take a few seconds to process your thoughts. So I would go. I do believe that celebrations are useful aspects of our society in a lot of ways. In the first place, I think it's an opportunity for community members, society members to bond, especially if they stay far apart from one another for a very, very long time, right? It's a time to interact, to reconnect, catch up on old times, and basically be happy seeing one another again. I also think that society needs celebrations as it is a way to commemorate important events. For example, in my village where I come from, there is this festival known as the New Yam Festival. Now, everybody loves to travel during the New Yam Festival. There you have it. That is how I would typically respond to the IELTS speaking section. Remember, you don't want to get hung up on ensure that you get all the answers correctly. No, ensure that you speak, right? And one way to help, as I mentioned before, is to take a breather, digest the question. For the second part, you are allowed to scribble down responses so that your response is not jumbled and incoherent, right? But ensure that you talk, speak as freely as you can, so that you can use the English language. And your language doesn't necessarily have to be perfect to score a high point on the IELTS speaking section. And this is why it is a spontaneous speaking process. And even the best English speakers tend to make grammatical errors here and there. But then, remember, beyond grammatical accuracy, they are also looking at for your lexical resources, fluency, coherence, pronunciation too. So if your grammar isn't necessarily perfect, there are other grading parameters that could make up for that. So don't lose confidence on the fact that, oh, my grammar is not accurate. No, just speak. Speak like you're speaking to a friend, and best believe you're going to acquire the best score at the end of the day. So once like come your way next time, it's just not insightful and helpful as this. Keep watching this channel. If you haven't subscribed, you want to do that now, and do well to be kind to other people by sharing this link to them. It would really help them a long way, especially if they're planning to take the IELTS soon as well. So once I come your way next time, keep practicing, and I wish you the very best on your test. Bye-bye.